Good evening. So, welcome all of you to tonight's podcast. Um, as usual, our concept is we want to get extraordinary topics and points of view from extraordinary people. Tonight, we're joined by Mr. Greg Dawson, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, and I'm going to let him introduce our topic for tonight. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Matthew. Yeah. I am Greg Dawson, aka Boris. Depends on the space. I switch names. That is my alias, my alter ego, whatever you want to call it, and then some. But yes, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, supervisor. I train other social workers how to do therapy, how to do social work in the community, so on and so forth. I'm also a sex therapist. I'm also a tantra practitioner. And went through Grand Trine, still going through Grand Trine. The education never stops, and learning about all the beautiful things. Um, but taking that journey, I realized the union between sex therapy spaces or sexual health spaces rather, and the energy spaces, tantra, energy work, the cosmos, human energy field, and how that is all intermingling and changing, and how people don't realize the benefits of energy, and that you're born with all that you need. You're born with all this energetic stuff that you can have to receive blessings and give it, right? And so, but I see the crossovers with sex therapy and the sexual health field. And so I'm writing a book. And so some of that stuff will be in there. It's going to be a skim of the surface stuff, nothing too heavy to lift. But one of the things I really am interested in having a dialogue uh, about is sex versus sex energy. And some people may say that's the same thing, but it's not. And I didn't really fully understand the depth of sex energy until I started walking these spaces. And still I started until I started meditating uh, to the capacity that I do. And I realized the change of it when I don't meditate, when I don't do qigongs, when I don't do certain diets. Thankful to Master Yao and Grand Trine. And so I want to kick it off by discussing what sex versus sex energy is, and then leaning into how men can keep our sex energy instead of giving away our power.
So definitely, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about tonight. Um, I mean, so many men have had private conversations where they talk about how do I hold on to my energy? So many men come back to me and say, okay, Master Al, while we're learning all this Tantra stuff, can you tell me, how I can manipulate, how I can manage, how I can store my energy better? And what happens to me when my energy is really high? And why is it that I feel emotionally different when my energy is low and, I'm not being fed, whatever. So I think you really kind of kicked the ball off when you talked about sex versus sex energy. Because I think a lot of people think it's the same thing, and it's definitely, of course, not. So why don't you first give a definition? Start it off by giving a definition of what sex energy is. And that's going to, I think, help us with the whole therapy thing.
Yeah. So sex energy is prana. It's that vital energy that flows throughout the container, and it takes form. It's that sign of life. It is life. It's the breath of life. Um, and because it runs through all things, and it motivates, it creates, adds flavor. It's that spice. It's not that potato salad bland. It's not the bland chicken. It's with seasoning. It's giving us something. It's giving us a lot of something, right? Sex is a byproduct of sex energy because of that. And so sex simply is just, you have either one person, you can have solo sex, masturbation. You can also have spiritual masturbation, using the thoughts and images to create what you want. You can also have partnered sex, group sex, penetration using whatever you want, a penis, dildos, whatever you want, how you view. I'm not going to shame anybody, but goes on into that, right? But there's also some chemical exchanges. We're talking about the pituitary gland, the master gland. We're talking about orgasms. We're talking about eruptions, emissions, all that other stuff there. That's sex. But none of that happens without sex energy. So sex energy runs through and freely through all of that, giving it, like I said earlier, the flavor, the seasoning. And if sex energy no longer exists, neither does sex and neither does life.
One of the things that that people start out when they do the programs in Grand Trine is we get a lot of people saying, Master Yao, you talk about ejaculation is not the same as orgasm. And so we have that thing. Then men say, well, sexual energy has different ways that it manifests in men and women. And then we talk about those different things. And then other people are like, how do I talk about the biology of sex energy? We get into that. What is the dynamics of that? One of the things that we do in some of the programs is we build up the sex energy. And there's different ways that you can do that. You can start with just conserving it. And that's one of the things that people find is just stop having sex for, 7 or 8 days. The other way is by closing up the way sex leaks out, the energy leaks out, which I think it brings up a conversation. The third thing that we talk about in that regard is that sort of like people are sapping your energy. People are there. It's like it's being misused. People are sapping your energy away, and so you have to guard your energy. So we're going to hit all of those different things those three things I just talked about. But why don't we start by your views on that we have to, that first of all, that people need to be thinking about the fact that we need to be guarding our energy, looking after our energy, conserving our energy, and being careful about how it's being spent.
Yeah, when I have clients, a lot of times they're coming to me and they're not realizing they're talking about preserving their energy. And it gets to the point where, a conversation about semen retention does happen, they're like, what the hell? I'm not holding it in. I'm not going to just do. And so, if you're coming to me and we're getting to a point where we're discussing options for you, that's going to be on the table. We're going to have to discuss how to preserve your energy, how to preserve your sex energy. And then the next would be the process to transmute it. And so, but um, a lot of times we don't want to get to the point of preserving it. It doesn't seem sexy. It doesn't feel sexy to them. And people aren't feeling in their bodies, but they're making bad decisions, giving away that sex energy.
So what about people or women who steal men's sex energy?
Like a vampire?
Who thrive off of
it's
that?
yeah, yeah,
What's your take on that? What's your take on that?
the vampires are going to be the sexy one. Like, look, if you look at a movie, vampires are sexy as hell, right? They're going to come at you seductive, and they will zap your energy, right? But the thing is, men and women, we have to realize what we're wanting, what we're needing, but what's our foundation? If we're not getting what we want and what we need, how can we not fall through the cracks? We just don't know how to do that, me included. I arrived here falling through the cracks through my divorce. I went through a traumatic situation. Wife couldn't have kid and she started having behavioral health issues. And me as a therapist, I can handle that. I'm not okay. Now I'm starting to make bad decisions and I'm giving away my sex energy. I can handle that. But I had to be honest with myself. I couldn't. I couldn't handle that. And I had to beat my chest. I'm a man. I can handle that. And I'm making bad decisions. I'm giving away my sex energy now. And so I'm staying with it, then we're fighting. And then now she threatens my life. And I got this. I can handle it. But I couldn't. I couldn't. I was traumatized. And so what did I do? I can either fight, I can either fly, I can freeze or appease, right? I froze for a second. That was my reaction, right? Parasympathetic versus sympathetic. I just froze. I didn't know what to do. I asked for divorce, then I left. Got my divorce. That started the process of me not allowing myself to um, leak the sex energy. It started the process of me not allowing myself to make bad decisions, giving away my sex energy. But I went through it for a while. I went through it for a while until I can honestly say my first ritual with Grand Trine. And we had a nice ritual. I got a lot of that stuff out. I got most of my anger out, most of it. It still would come back with bull crap that happens within the divorce proceedings, but I got most of it out. And I was able to manage. I was able to retain a lot of the sex energy. Uh, yeah,
You know, whether we're going through trauma or not, um, I think some men just have a whole lot of potency, a whole lot of virility, and women are attracted to those men, and they want. I mean, that's what sometimes happens is that their attraction, their provocativeness is geared toward bringing that energy up and using it. So, and it's pleasurable for both the man and the woman to arouse that energy and then do something to it, to bring it to a climax. But then I think it's also something that happens where some women, not the majority, but some, help men to build that energy up. I've
absolutely.
been like that over life, where they're allowing that we're going to have some arousal, but it's not going to end in a depletion type thing. So there's ways of being aroused and having an interchange that does not result in sex the way we normally would think of it, but it's building up the energy, and later on we may do something different. So, I mean, that's basically three ways that you can expend the energy: consciousness raising, healing, or and pleasure. And yet we don't find most men talking about building up their energy, and we don't find most women talking about or being engaged in helping the man that they're with building up his energy. So it's real easy to find women that help you to, to do all the stuff and engage
Absolutely.
in everything. Should men be more conscious of the difference in women, the women who are very much um, actively all the time, always wanting to expend your energy, and the women who are have another kind of a way of looking at it, and they're looking at, let me help him build up his energy, and we're going to help him use it sometimes too, but we got this balance where we're trying to help him build it up. What do you see in terms of that?
First and foremost, yes, there are ways to identify said woman or women. But before we get into that, we have to be critical of ourselves as men. And that's one of the things that we've even done here within Grand Trine. Before we went out talking about how we can have the highest quality of sex energy with our partners, we had to get onto ourselves. You get on us all the time, right? And so we have to get onto ourselves. And so men have to absolutely start the process of introspection. You have to start the process of learning who you are, evaluating who you are, your wants and your needs. Without doing that, it doesn't matter if you come across a woman. You just haven't done the work. And the work doesn't stop. You don't just go to a store and I've done the work. The work is an eternal thing. Even after you've left your physical body, you have to continue to do the work. So what needs to happen there, after you're doing the work on self? How do you identify the woman? Well, one of the things you can do is just open your eyes. Look on social media. The most toxic areas you can find a woman is in that arena where she wants soft life, right? Soft life is actually a healthy thing, but current day soft life women only want you taking them on vacations. They only want you spending money on everything that they got going on, and you can invest in yourself because everything that you put into your union has to go to her, right? And she has to thrive. And you have to simply just live out an experience. Quality not high at all, right? That's the current day soft life energy. That's not real soft life. Real soft life was created in these spaces when women understood the house of woman, when women understood what feminine energy is and how to get into their feminine. That's here. There's a lot of women in Grand Trine and other temples too that understand how to thrive in their feminine energy. But if you just turn on the TV, go on social media, IG, TikTok. There are women all day long living in their current day soft life energy. Those are the hell no women. They look great though. That's the problem. They look great, but energetically, they're going to zap your energy and they're going to make you make bad decisions, giving away your sex energy, which is what we're talking about here today. So current day soft life women, that's a no. I don't care how they look. Could be Beyonce, could be Tyra. Tyra's my favorite. Janet Jackson's my favorite. If I got a chance at any of those women and they're talking about current day soft life, I'm not kicking them out the bed, but I'm not investing into them either, right? I'm just going to go ahead and move on. That's it. That's the best thing we can do. So it is hard, but that's the best thing we can do. But that's an easy catch. What about the hard catches? Somebody that presents well, but ends up turning into somebody that is not for you. Again, you have to realize who you are. What's your foundation? What do you want? What do you need? Do you pair up with that? And if not, you just got to go.
So some of our listeners may not be familiar with the House of the Woman. So in the lore, we talk about the four archetypes of feminine energy: the moon, the maternal instinct, the elegant rose, the creative, sensual side, the treasure chest, the resource, the nest builder, and the seated hawk, which is the spiritual, the seer, that type. And that the more of these archetypes a woman has online, the greater her capacity to store up sexual energy. And that's part of what I was referring to before, that when the women are trying to help men to expand, they're helping him while he's helping her get her archetypes online. She's helping him get his archetypes online. The more archetypes he has online, the greater his capacity to store up sexual energy. And it benefits her as much as it benefits him. But you're
Absolutely.
right, both people have to put in the work. And I guess what you're saying is that men have to start that thinking before you even think about what's the woman's role in sexual energy. I've got to first do some introspection and look at what is my goal? And do you find that men are resistant to that conversation in therapy?
Absolutely. Because we take on those scripts before us, and a lot of us don't have a healthy man to teach us what traditions are. I believe traditions are good, uh, but we have to understand what we want and what we need, and we just don't. But men come in and they're reluctant to talk about how to have a healthy engagement and connection with their women. Because again, where was the history? Where were we taught? Where are the circles? Where are the spaces where we can get taught if dad isn't there, right? Or uncle ain't there, an extended family member isn't there, right? Um, and when you get to those, or when you've identified it, are you going to even follow through? A lot of folks just don't like to read, just don't like to step up and do a lot of the things that they like to do. And I say that respectfully, right? But when you don't do your homework, you can't get all these blessings that are out there for you. I mean, it's there to be had, and for the free in most cases. And so yeah, when they come to the couch, when they come to the chair, or virtual, or if we take a walk in the park, I like going into the community and having sessions sometimes. Uh, there is a reluctance to engage into who they are, uh, if anything is online with them, um, and understanding what society has taught them and how to follow through. It's almost like we're starting from ground zero most of the time. There's really been no formal education on healthy ways to connect. And because of that, you have to wonder, what's up? What are women being taught anything? They're probably not either. So it's kind of the blind leading the blind out
Well, my opinion about that,
here.
I deal with a lot of men, and I find that because I'm older, men tend to listen to me. Um, I do agree that men have this tendency to have some vacuum there about when you talk about something like sexual energy, and they want to know, and they will listen, although they may have some preconceived notions. I find the difference is that women already have more conditionings, and so I wouldn't say they've been taught that, but from osmosis or however they got it, they have a greater amount of preconditions than men do as to what they believe reality is. Um, and both situations are not good. So with men, when they're posing resistance to therapy, they're posing resistance to the types of therapy and some of the things that you're saying. You know, I think it's not just a matter of getting, just teaching some basic stuff. I get frustrated because like you say, we're just trying to teach some basic stuff, but it's like they got to realize that it's a lot more than just basic, and that this has to be a conversation that they've got to really, that they're so far behind, that there's so much they've got to catch up on. What do I mean? I mean, like the house of the man, men don't know about the basic definition of masculine energy. They don't know about sexual energy. One of the things that you and I talked about was the fact that there are layers to the storage of sexual energy. So, I mean, you know, men do, I think most men understand that, the prostate gland stores semen. So, sperm is in the testicles, semen is in the prostate. They're not in the same place, they're not the same thing. They combine when you have an ejaculation, but the reality is that the activity concerned with the testicles is about reproduction and testosterone. The activity connected to the prostate is about pleasure, is about nutrients and health, and it's about, levels of orgasm. And there's levels of penetration into that. We talk in Grand China about the cell body, energy body, light body. And so when you're talking about the storage of sexual energy, you're storing sexual energy up chemically to some extent. I'm not going to get into all the dynamics of that, but you're actually chemically making all of the hormones, neurochemicals, all of this stuff. And the combined effort of that is part of storing up sexual energy. Then the thyroid is making the hormones and things that are pushing the sex drive and pushing the sexual energy. But these things are like at at the lower level. The real sexual energy is energetic. It's in the energy body. And so the main storage of sexual energy is in our energy body, our chakras, our auric field, and all of the things connected to the energetic part of us. I don't think men have enough of an interest in this as they should, because I think that if they understood that you have to learn about this stuff, if you're going to learn about how to get your sexual energy at optimal scenario. Some men can't. They can't do it because part of when you look at men who last an hour and men who last 5 minutes, part of that is their dynamic with the woman, but also to some extent that is how much can they store energy? Because a lot of people they can't. As soon as it gets excited and the things get circulating, they're ejaculating all over the place. And other men, they can store that energy and they can build it up and build it up and build it up, and it then starts coming up the spine and doing all other kinds of things, and it changes their health, it changes their profile. So I want to get your response to that. This, when I say I don't think that men just need to start paying a bit of attention to these topics. I think that they really got to understand that they are really behind the eight ball. This stuff is critical. It's not stuff that is a luxury to learn or something that we can maybe do or we don't really have to. I think it's just as much an absolute necessity. It's going to the gym, eating right, doing a little yoga or whatever, and learning, how to avoid, STDs and things like that. What's your take on what I'm putting out there, and how do you see this whole thing from a therapist point of view?
Um,
I know I said a lot.
simple. No, no, it's all right. It's all right. But when you say that to the depth of it, what screams out is self-care. Men don't like to lean into self-care, right? If we can lean into self-care, that is lifting weights, cardio, working out that heart, working out the heart energy, right? Getting that blood flowing. If we're talking about the energetic body, right? We're talking about moving on up to what I like to do outside of exercising at the cell body level is the healthy diet. I don't think we understand what beets can do. It can raise your body functioning 15% overall. Let's pair that up with other things. If we're talking about looking at the lingam and want to make sure that's right, right? So energetically wise and light wise, um, pairing that up with things like watermelon rinds. We're talking about certain greens to make sure the nitric oxides are working. So the physical
Oh,
penis is
so
actually,
okay, so now you just hit up a whole thing there because we're talking about if you're talking about staying hard,
yeah,
how to address the little clapper valves at the base of the penis, the one-way valves that actually trap the blood in the penis, and what gets the plaque off of those valves. And watermelon is one of the things that helps to do that. But nitric oxide is the big boy. So
yeah.
not just helping with that, but so many things. So please go into the nitric oxide thing a little bit more.
So it relaxes and lets the blood flow in. Your penis is going to naturally trap the blood. Nitric oxide helps with all that whole chemistry, that whole functioning, right? Um, so when we're talking about, capital N, capital O, what plant would you want to indulge in to get that?
Yeah.
Um, Kale is a good plant to do it. I like to use arugula. I think arugula, and I mean like go to your farmer's market. Don't go to the grocery store. I'll go to a farmer's market, or if you have a friend that has a backyard and they're raising it themselves. That's
You're talking about the green arugula. The
yeah,
green,
yeah, the green arugula.
okay, okay.
Um, it, and if you Google arugula, there's certain sales, there's certain countries that really honor that as a natural Viagra. But they're growing that, they're honoring that, they're really paying attention. They're putting intentional energy into that, and it is working. And so if you're going to use arugula, uh, I like the way it tastes. It's some people say it's an acquired taste. I like it, but it does have a little seasoning to it. It can come out spicy, or sometimes bland. But go to your farmer's market if you're not raising it, or go to a friend's house that has a community garden, or a garden in the backyard. That's where you want to get your arugula. Get you some arugula, get you some beets, watermelon rinds, blend that together. I like to put honey in it, because honey helps with the rigidity of that direction you're going to have, right? And so we're talking about, I'll put cinnamon in there too for heart health, and let it go. Now you're going to want to drink it about 6 to 8 ounces. Don't drink a whole bunch. You're going to be pissing and shitting red. You're going to be you're going to feel like something's wrong with you. But that's just the beats running through your system. It's just like a natural coffee. Well, coffee's natural, right? But it's just another version of coffee. That's how it can work. It's going to clean you out. But after it cleans you out, you're going to be good. I promise you. Drink it every other day. Don't drink it every day. About 6 to 8 ounces. You have to drink it fresh, but that will help you with the rigidity and the functioning of your penis. Don't let don't let your seed go. Hold that. Your penis is going to drop. When your penis drops a little bit, that's how you're knowing that it's flowing through your veins. It's working, right? Some people may be like, I don't know if it's working. Well, you have to get into your body, but also pay attention to your penis, right? Men know how we hang, what length we hang at. And so when we drink the beet juice, it's going to drop a little bit. And so when it drops a little bit, your sensitivity is going to raise just a little bit. That's going to help with your sexual functioning. And when we're talking about, as Master said, uh, premature ejaculation, versus being able to control it and hold it. When we're talking about erectile dysfunction, the key word is control. Can you control it? And in these spaces of tantra, if you can feel and hold that energy up, you can control it more. So that decreases your reality of having erectile dysfunction issues. And so anyway, that helps with the energy part of it. And so if you're using that, you're working out, you're eating right, you're dieting right, that's helping with the energy. It's going into the cells, it's going into your organs, it's getting the energy right, right? And so if you work with spaces like Grand Trine, where you get your body, your light body activated, now you're using Qigong, you're meditating. Now we're raising that vibrational energy, right? For the light. So now we can do a lot with that, because we've hit 3 major bodies already just in this conversation. And so now you can do a lot with that. Now you can you can transmute that energy, right? One way I like to transmute energy is through what's called sex magic. Sex magic is basically using the theater of the mind. What do you desire? Have that mental picture, right? Use that sex energy, and upon your orgasmic release, put it out there into the world. Now you're putting it out there into the world consciously to make that happen. That's just a simple formula for sex magic. That's what we're talking about with semen retention and transmutation through sex magic. And we just hit 3 different bodies.
I love it. I love it. Um, Shifting gears just a little bit, uh, talking about sexual energy. I think probably the greatest energetic enemy of our of retaining our energy is fear. I think, and the second biggest is lack of discipline.
Absolutely.
Speak to, can you speak to the fear factor, especially men who are dealing with women that are overly masculine? Can you speak about the fear and how that destroys our energy?
Well, when we're talking about women being overly masculine, um, now we're talking about them challenging the roles of a man, them taking over the role of a man from someone's perspective. Generally, a lot of the clients that I'm dealing with in heteronormative spaces, right? My wife, she does this. She's bringing in all the money, or she's running the house, or I can't say anything without her talking back to me in any kind of disrespectful way. now the man is not able to function as he feels like he can, just as a human being, first and foremost, and then socially as a man. So we fear that we're not being able to stand up and be ourselves in said relationship. And that manifests as, it could be, um, oof, it can be one of many complexes out there. It can be anxiety. Let's just go with the simple stuff. It can be anxiety. It can manifest itself into depression, right? It can manifest itself into you constantly, always, day to day, trying to figure out how you can be a man, how you can overcome and make more money, how you can stand up and use your voice energy, use your chakra, right? You use throat chakra to voice yourself as a man to.
So, so right there, so many young men today cannot speak up. They lost that throat chakra ability to speak their truth out. You know, what you're saying is like really hitting it, and a lot of it has to do with it. We're always um, measuring our manhood by how much money we make, and if you're not able to make a lot of money, then a lot of men have instilled in themselves, conditioned themselves to believe that their manhood is not what it needs to be. So I think that a challenge for therapy is to reverse that in men, where you say, okay, this is what your salary is, and regardless of what your salary is, your sex value, your man value, your masculine energy quota can still be high. What's your comment to that?
I agree. I wish I could challenge it, uh, but I want to piggyback off of that with me agreeing. I saw a clip the other day where a guy was like, "I work, I'm a blue collar worker, and I make only $45,000 a year." And he's talking to this other guy who's a multimillionaire black guy, and this black guy is telling men, "You need to pay for everything for women. They just need to sit up and look pretty." And the guy who's making $45,000 a year, he's like, I can't afford that life. You're telling me I need to act like you. I'm not a multimillionaire. And he's right, right? And so the rich guy was like, well, you just need to work harder. No, you don't. There's still a lot of sex value in the guys that's making $45,000. And a lot of guys who's making the $45,000 have a lot of ways to contribute to health and wealth and life in so many other ways. And they can still raise their monetary value. Because you're at 45 is not where you're going to remain. But don't give the person the advice to just make more money. That's terrible. That's horrible advice. When you lean into your sex value, now you're going to find where your worth is in all these other parts of your life. And then you can start making more money. But you're going to have to start creating that. You're going to have to lean into your sex energy and stop giving your sex energy away. So I agree.
My father, I look up to him, and I appreciate his value more and more the older I get. I mean, he was a real man, and he was there. He supported us, but he was considered poor. I mean, by the standards of his time. He worked a very simple job for the most time as a teacher at a school for a reformatory, whatever, prison, whatever you want to call it, for boys and young men. And so in those days they didn't really pay a lot.
Yeah.
But he took care of his family as best he could, and we lived well. We had a farm. Um, but the value, when you look back and you see all of his children, and when you see all of his neighbors and everything that he did in the neighborhood, I mean, I would run into people as I was an adult, and they would tell me what he did for them. So many people, not just his own kids, so many widows. I mean, he just did so much, and he just added value to so many people's lives. And so for me, it's very, very evident that men can leave a mark and really uh, change the way people live and it doesn't really have a lot to do with money. Um, I I struggle with trying to get that point across to men today. I try to do it. I try to tell them. I try to use the different examples that the men who have the greatest power, even when you're talking about tantra power, are not necessarily the men who are rich. Uh, I find that men who have modest incomes are just have just as much tantra ability and sex ability as men that don't. I'm not saying that sex is the only measure of manhood. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's a challenge to really get men to redefine how they value masculinity. It just seems that society has just overwhelmingly put out this, program that you only have value, masculine value, if you're making money. That is just, I mean, if we have a society of men that's the only way they define value in their masculinity, the society is going to be screwed.
Absolutely. And and I have to lean on your teachings as I usually do, right? We're talking about abundance versus scarcity. We naturally just cling on to scarcity like it's life, like it's dear life, not realizing the abundance in all these other areas. So yeah, when it comes to men in relationships fearing women, women have we got to tip our hats to women. They're heading businesses, their education in college and starting businesses, astronomical numbers, doing great, and we support that absolutely. Um, there's a challenge though, and this might not sound sexy or attractive to a lot of men. We're challenged to be in a lot of spaces the leaders, but in time, things are going to change. We don't always have to be a leader. We can absolutely work to the point of becoming a leader. But what's wrong with being a follower and getting all the education, getting all the things fitting into form with our woman and not feeling challenged? And then when you get your money up, your sex energy up, and all these other things, you can boss up and be a leader. We're not all born leaders. We're just simply not. But that doesn't mean that's how we have to end it. And so leading into a scarcity mindset is going to challenge our natural strengths, our natural reality, where we are in reality. And so lean into where you're at. If you're struggling, understand that you're struggling. Get with somebody that knows you got to struggle and they fuck with you 100% and they love on you 100% and they're willing to build with you. And now you got your money up, your sex game up, your energy all the way up. You can be a leader in wherever else you want to be now.
Do
You
you
don't always,
find that the men who I mean, you get some men and they're making the money.
yeah,
In most of the couples that are functioning couples, in most of them, the men are making more, they're the major providers. In the relationships where men are not, those are the ones I'm talking about now. Do you find that they have to have a good sex game and to feel whole, to feel, in the therapy arena, do you find that, okay, it's like if I can't get this going, I'm going to have to rely on this other thing more? In other words, is that what you're seeing, that those men who don't have, the competitive advantage of making more money than the woman, do you find that when they're coming to you, they're looking to up their sex game so that they can level the playing field?
absolutely. It's it's kind of like, women are going window shopping and they should, so they got this guy, he comes with this thing and he has this quality going on. And if that's not going on, well, I'm going to get this other guy and he's got this going on. And, she's winning. She's got this going on with choosing and picking and choosing these other kind of men. And in a society where monogamy is, looked at as the go-to, right? Instead of community and other relationship structures, that kind of rips through the man's mindset. I need to be the all and everything for her. How can I do it? I'm not doing it with money. How can I do it with sex? And then when we were talking about them doing it with sex, they're leaning into performance value instead of leaning into their masculinity and even their own feminine energy and having a better sex life. And that typically becomes a hard thing for them to swallow, a hard pill for them to swallow, is leaning into their feminine, leaning into their masculine, and having a healthy sex life. So when we're talking about offering healthy sex life, we have to offer two things in couple relationships in the sex therapy world. At least I do, and that's how I was taught. One is intimacy. There's a number of different levels of intimacy. You can get Matthew Kelly's book. He's a Christian guy, but he's hitting you with some healthy stuff. 7 levels of intimacy. Read it, believe it. It's good stuff. Now we have to pair that up with eroticism. That is that vitality. That's that in tantra. We're talking about sex energy, but now we're also talking about penetration sex energy. And we're talking about and that mixes what am I looking for? Anticipation and desire. That's all into eroticism as well. Anticipation is kind of like you building up. I can't wait for football season to get here. Football season is there. You desire, you erupt. Oh, this is what I've been wanting. This is great, right? Compare that to sex. I've been waiting for this ass to get here. This big ass, she's here now, right? I've been waiting 3 weeks. I've been talking, we've been sex chatting, we've been phone calling, doing all this stuff. You've built up your energy and you haven't been letting it go. And you got there with her. And then now you're ready to do all these things through intimacy and eroticism, right? And we teach that in my well, I have classes talking about that, but in sessions with me, right? So we blend intimacy and eroticism, and that helps with the sex for that man if he's willing to lean into it. If not,
So
then that's
so you know you got the whole. This is an old line argument, our discussion: performance versus intimacy. And so is this something that's driven by women or by men? And really, okay, am I understanding you correctly? You believe that intimacy trumps performance. Is that,
intimacy and eroticism trumps performance if there's a healthy connection, right? Because through the healthy connection, she's getting what she's getting. You're getting what you're getting. And it's at the very worst, good enough. At the very best, it's whatever you're needing.
that if he's got the intimacy game down, he doesn't have to necessarily have 100% performance game. That intimacy game is going to make up all the difference in the world. And then he can use the energy to boost that. And so that he doesn't have to be as concerned about the performance.
He doesn't if there's a healthy connection. If she's open, if she's not, you ain't dicking me down, you ain't doing it like this. If she's saying this is how I want to love on you. This is how I want you to do me. And this is how I want to do you, right? She's giving him that energy that shows that he's welcome. And if he shows up with intimacy and eroticism and she's already there, there's no need for performance or transactional sex. You already got what you need. You're
Okay,
good.
I agree. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
turn you down a little bit, trying to
yeah.
throw a little
But
controversy in there. Go ahead.
so how does that work when you're not in a healthy relationship? Well, you're not in a relationship at all. It's just straight back shots, right? It's just straight. Let me just hit it from the back and throw my seed all over the place and get out of here. That's 100% performance.
I mean, I think that it's invalid with me because I don't think that half the women are emotionally intelligent enough to know the difference, to be able to appreciate quality like that. I mean,
Mm.
so I don't know. I mean, if the woman can appreciate it, then I would say yes, but I just have to kind of like I'm somewhat reluctant. I agree. I think that intimacy definitely trumps performance. I do believe that. But at the same time, you know, if the woman does not value that, it's not really helping you. I mean,
Correct. Correct.
Basically, you get to that point where you just got to tell her goodbye because she's not worth the trouble. But if you're really trying to make some, get something going with her that's healthy for both of you, and it's something that you want to look forward to. I don't know that being correct is the thing if the woman doesn't know that this has value. In other words, I believe, I mean, this is a conversation that we have all the time. Does intimacy trump performance? And I think absolutely it does. But I don't see a lot of women putting the value on intimacy that maybe they should. I think they'd be happier if they did, but I don't think they have that kind of emotional intelligence, not the majority of women. Because I think a lot of women are down for the pounding bing bang bang culture. I think a lot of women are down for that. I don't think they've got the emotional intelligence to really understand the true value of male intimacy. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. That's
Well,
my take on it.
current day women are owning their sex and sexuality because it was defined by men, right? It was how women need to have sex was defined by men, and they're owning it. That's cool, and I agree. There is a miss on the emotional intelligence with their own performance and how they want us to perform, and men are allowing that energy to affect us, and that is where fear comes in. That's where performance for us comes in. Um, and that's where the big whiff comes in when we're talking about connection and connective sex. When we're talking about sex, uh, the stats on this is my guess. If you are in the game without a relationship and you're just doing performance sex over time, the quality of performance sex for you is just going to go down as we age, right? There
Yeah.
probably is stats on that. I just don't look
Yeah.
it up. But um, so as we age, we can't continue to do performance sex as we were when we weren't in our bodies and we were just banging it out because we got morning wood, right? And so when our younger selves was having performance sex, we didn't necessarily have the emotional intelligence to, for a lot of us, to blend with that and have high quality orgasms. So as we get to the point, probably our early 20s for a lot of women, probably late 20s, early 30s for a lot of men, we start to recognize the importance of intimacy and emotional intelligence as it leads to high quality orgasms.
Okay, we got to wrap it up, but so
Oh man.
next 5 to 8 minutes, can you just give me a summation of how you see the landscape of therapy, sex therapy for men? Can you tell me what you're seeing and what you would like to see from the perspective of dealing with men, and then from the perspective of dealing with women? Can you just give the audience, you have a unique perspective. You're there in the room, and men with sexual issues, sexual problems, emotional problems, all kinds of stuff. You're dealing with all kinds of people. They're telling you their problems. They're like, they're crying on your shoulder, whatever metaphor we want to use. And so you're in a unique position. And I've sat in that chair, and you get all kinds of stuff, guys who are, I'm not even going to say it, but can you tell us what you're seeing these days and what you would like to see, and then do the same thing from the perspective of women?
I'm just going to start with Black men because I got into sex therapy because I wanted to work with people that look like me, right? I wanted to work with Black men because we have honest conversations with each other. And I realize Black men are not giving up our traditions that have terrible. Can we curse here?
Yeah.
They just fuck our reality up. And we're not getting to the point where we're leaning into creating our own life with our own energy. I want Black men. I I beg you, I implore you, please understand the weaknesses of your own traditions, your own reality, and your strengths. Own your strengths, own your weaknesses, and then start from there. And then going from there, understand how you need to connect to your high energetic levels. Find those spaces. So own your shit, find the spaces for health energetically and sexually. You can come to my office. You can go see Grand Tribe. You go see Grand Tribe and Master Yah and the rest of the tribe, right? Find those spaces, do the work. We're just not even simply doing that. We're not even looking at, when it comes to Thanksgiving, folks are, there's seasonal depression, right? And there's folks that go into Thanksgiving and we're eating and drinking all kinds of, Thanksgiving's coming up, eating and drinking all kinds of unhealthy shit that's going to set us back for 6 months.
You
In
telling me I
six
can't
months,
have stuffing? Is that what you're telling me?
no, sir. If your doctor said you can't have stuffing, you better go to your vegan friend and have them veganize that shit, because we need you to stick around with us at least for another 10 to 15 summers, Master. Yeah. Sheesh. So,
But keep going,
um,
keep going.
so definitely look at your traditions, because traditions are those necessary things that we don't look at. We don't assess. We assess how a woman is sexing us. We assess how work is treating us, but we don't assess our own customs, our own traditions. There's a lot of bullshit that's going on in our churches, what they're feeding us intellectually, but also literally feeding us. You have to assess that. Start there. Find spaces for healing and then follow through. I guarantee you're going to improve quality of life instantly. Now, when we're talking about women, when it comes to sex, you have to understand you're going to have to own your sex. You got to own your shit. If you don't own it and you keep holding us to a particular quality of sex, men are just going to give you the dick that we're going to give you. And on a certain day, it may be D-rated dick. And I know you want A plus. So if you want A plus, you're gonna have to own your sex life, own your shit before you get into the bed. Now, make the effort to welcome the person in, and hopefully he's welcoming you in too. Now we have an opportunity to have healthy cyclical, energetical sex, right? Healthy masculine energy, healthy feminine energy involved in the sex. And now we can get somewhere. Not just get somewhere, we can go wherever the fuck we want to go. That's what I need women to do. That's what women need to do, generally.
Are you optimistic?
No,
Yeah.
I would like to be optimistic, but no. I have these conversations with men and women in the Black community and outside. The Black community looks like they come to me and they look at me like I'm an alien, right? I get higher quality quality conversations from my white friends and Hispanic friends. Um, for the Black community, I need you to lean into your God energy. When you do that, then yes, I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of, um, I see the future being bright for us. But you're not leaning into your God energy and you're giving all of your sex energy away. So
Yeah,
yeah,
look good. I mean, all the tools are there, as you said. It's like it's a puzzle easily solved if people simply start working to do that, but they're not at all. So it was a pleasure having this conversation, man. I really appreciate it. And I think you were
likewise.
frank and very, straightforward and honest with people about what's out here, what we can do. I just want to first of all say from as representing all Black men, I want to say I want to appreciate your contribution to therapy and to the mental health of Black men and Black women. So I want to, applaud you for that.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
we're making some progress. There's so many people that's got the ability to solve some of these problems. We need to take note of it and go and see them. Thank you so much.
Not a problem, man.
Thank
Love
you so
you,
much.
and I can't wait to see this. And anytime you want this on, just let me know. I'm back, brother. I'm back.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, man.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe, hit the notification, and definitely please give me a like. Please just give me a little bit of a like. That's all I'm asking is a like. Give me a like. All right, bye-bye.